Hi, welcome back to my channel, and especially for this next episode of What's Your Story? If you're liking what you're seeing on my content, feel free to check out my other sites. Go to my website, widowsgiftcoaching.com. You can look in the links in my bio, and I have some free downloads and other links. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hello, thanks for tuning in today. I have with us today Carleen Ladd, and I'll just tell you briefly how we became acquainted last week. A friend of mine and I were walking in the neighborhood, and I was telling her a little bit about my YouTube channel and what I've been doing, and anyway, she sent me a screenshot later that day, and it said, I thought of you, and it was about this widows group that was meeting for lunch. And at first I said, well, thank you for thinking of me, but to be honest, it pricked me, and I was like, oh, I hate that, Lord. I hate this to be my identity. And then he quickly reminded me, Wendy, you asked to meet other widows so you could interview them. And I was like, you're right, Lord, I did. So I go to this restaurant to meet these ladies, and I was taken to the back room, and I walk back there, and there's this big square table and all these women sitting around, and I kind of smile and go to the one empty chair, and they were all staring at me, and I was like, is this the widows group? And one lady goes, oh no, this is the garden club. And I got tickled. I said, oh, I understand. Well, thank you. So then I went up, and so I met Carleen, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story. And one of the things I think is so very fun is that her late husband, John, was originally from Dayton, Ohio, and graduated from Wilbur Wright High School and went to Sinclair and worked at Frigidaire all his life and that part of his life, and retired from Frigidaire. So God just has a way of weaving circles together. And so Carleen, tell us a little bit about what led you up to John. You could just give a brief.
Well, John, as you said, worked for Frigidaire, and he worked for them till he was called into the ministry. And he knew all about the appliances and all like that because he helped build them and everything, the wiring and everything. So after he was called into the ministry, he kept up his trade of appliance repairs. And I was helping to take care of my mother, and her freezer went on the outs, and I called my daughter, who somebody had just fixed her ice maker, and I asked her who it was, and she gave me this name and number, and I called this person, and they come by to check the freezer out, and that was my first acquaintance of getting to know him.
So so then you started talking, and
yeah.
And did you go to his church or no? Or after that?
John didn't have a church.
Oh, that's right.
He was an evangelist. He'd been preaching at that time about 40 some years, and he was an evangelist, and he traveled and preached all over the eastern United States.
Oh, okay.
And when he told me, it was talking about the freezer, and he told me, he says, I believe the parts are obsolete, and besides, it's time for this freezer to go be with Jesus. And I thought, there's something different about this man. Something different.
I love it. So, so you've always been from down here?
Yes.
Right. But North Carolina?
No, right here.
Right here?
Right, Great Falls, South Carolina.
Okay, all right.
I now live in Fort Long. I'll move 10 miles up the road.
Okay, so you're a little bit like me when I said about moving from Germantown to Springboro.
Yeah.
All right, yes, I understand then. Okay, so then what happened? You meet him,
and we started talking, and he asked me out on a date, and we went to the Wagon Wheel, which people around here know what the Wagon Wheel restaurant is. A nice restaurant, and then we went to a gospel singing that night, and that was us starting on our journey.
Gotcha. I love it. And yes, I am looking forward to going to the Wagon Wheel next month. Because I have heard a lot about it, but I've just not ventured out there yet. Okay, so at that time, and he had previously been married, you had been married, but you were grown by this point. How you were?
Well, I was, John was like early 60s, and I was like 68 when I first met him. And his wife had passed away in November of 2005, and my husband passed away in August of 2006. And we met around 2008, and that's how long that we were have been widows ourselves.
Okay. So then about how long did you date?
We started dating, and as we were dating, after we realized it was kind of something was sparking between us, as the old-fashioned saying used to be, and so I started going to church with him, and when a local church while he was preaching, and then it just seems like we wanted to spend more time with each other, and so he was taking me to his children's house. Each one of them, he took me to their homes in their different towns all over in different states, and to introduce me to them, that he thought he had found someone that he wanted to marry, and he talked to my children and my mother and asked my hand in marriage. And on December, the last Sunday in December in 2008, he proposed to me from the pulpit at First Baptist Church in Great Falls.
Oh, I love it. Do you want to share that picture or no?
There was an article on us, and used to be called the Great Falls Reporter, and this was an article that was written about us and him proposing me from the pulpit. He says we had made headlines because we were at the top of the page and Piggly Wiggly's at the bottom of the page. But
I love it.
It was a very just wonderful relationship, and starting out and all like that. And it was an adventure for me because I had been a Baptist person my whole life, and he was a Pentecostal evangelist. And some people say, well, that might be like a train wreck, but it was a wonderful individual. I just fell in love with him, and I found myself more than I had ever found myself.
Mm-hmm. He drew you closer to the Lord.
He did. Mm-hmm. He did.
And how long were you married?
We were married 15 years when he passed away.
Okay. Wow. And
we were together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, traveling up and down the road up to 1,500 to 2,500 miles a month.
Wow.
Preaching, singing, going to like I said, all over the eastern United States preaching.
Oh, neat.
When he passed away, he had been preaching 50 years.
Wow, that's so amazing. And I forget, correct me if I'm wrong, but he had already retired from Frigidaire and then became a preacher?
No, he quit Frigidaire when he was called into the ministry.
In the ministry. I gotcha. Okay. And then, okay, Carleen. So then you had this 15-year wonderful everything blessing from the Lord in
That's
your
right.
love together. And how did you become a widow? What happened to bring you to that?
We was coming back from West Virginia. We had been gone about 3 weeks, and he developed a very bad cough. And when we got home, I took him to the emergency room because he was losing his breath. And they said that he had pneumonia, and viral pneumonia, and he was coughing so hard that it threw him into AFib. And so the heart doctor was going to be doing some different tests on him to see if there was anything going wrong with his heart, and he had never been sick before. A sinus infection was just about it. And so when they run the blood work, they called me and to take him to the emergency room, the heart doctor did, and that his hemoglobin was down to 5, which means he didn't hardly have no blood in his body at all.
Right.
And so they took him to the hospital, and they started running tests on him, and they transferred us to CMC, Levine Cancer Center. They said that he had cutaneous leukemia. Is what it was. And about 7 months from the day he was diagnosed, he passed away with it.
Okay. Wow. So he received his reward, I'm sure.
Yes.
So Carleen, and it's hard. It's hard. Even when we know, and we're so grateful that they're with Jesus, it is challenging, and for those of us left behind, right?
Yes.
And but I would want to know, do you have, if you were going to leave a word of encouragement for the widows that will be watching this, what encouragement would you give thus far? So you have been a widow 15 months.
15 months.
Okay, so yes, what would you say has been your biggest help, and what would you say to encourage her?
My thoughts of this is growing every day. It's not nothing you can write down and say, this is what's going to happen, because at the slightest moment, your feeling can change from being not thinking about it and trying to carry on a normal life, and then all of a sudden it hits you, and you feel so lost. But we're never alone. Never. You're never lost. You can be home by yourself, but you're not alone. Mm-hmm. The Lord is there to take care of you. And one of the things that I have learned from my pastor is every morning you say, Holy Ghost, guide my path today. Guide my spirit. Guide me today, Lord. And just work closer with the Lord than you've ever. And I say work it because sometimes we take it for granted, and we're not reading our Bibles like we should, or studying like we should to keep up with the Word and know the Word. And if you're not talking to somebody about Jesus every day, we're letting the Lord down. Mm. And John's whole life was ministry. And I am so proud to have been a part of that, and to learn into, when we would be in churches, I would, being a Southerner, some people like to hear Southerners talk, so they would love to hear me. And so I would testify, not just to be as a Southerner, but testifying from my heart what the Lord has done for me. And He blessed me so many ways with me meeting John Ladd and having him as a husband, a caretaker to me, a provider. He told me one time that the only reason I married him is because he would look strong enough to dig a hole, because I love working in my yard. So, but his life is still difficult, but as long as we remember who we are and what we're here for, and that's to tell somebody today about your Lord Jesus Christ.
That's right. I agree. And He gives us new purpose. Our identity is in Him, and He gives us purpose. And He's with us as we're figuring the new out.
And I went to that meeting that day because my children had been telling me, Mama, you need to do something to keep up your ministry. And I'm hoping that this will help me further my ministry also.
I love it. Yes,
because I've done women's conferences, And I've done this past Mother's Day. I did a Mother's Day banquet and spoke in Chester at a church for Mother's Day.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to finding the opportunity to tell more and more about what a wonderful life I had with John Ladd, but I'm trying to still find me in this world.
Yes. Yeah.
And what the Lord wants me to do. And every day is, Lord, put somebody in my path today that I can tell them about you.
I love it. I love it. And I'm so thankful that we both happened to be at that meeting last week. So, Carleen, thank you so much for sharing your love story with John. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And that is our gift for you today. Thank you.